Good evening, everybody. This is Robert with the Space Coast Rocket, and I'm coming to you this evening to kind of talk about something that a lot of you've seen happen earlier today. We covered it, where there was a vehicle that drove off the bridge off of Pineda Causeway and ended up into the Indian River Lagoon. You kind of see it right here. This white Nissan Titan kind of just went off the roadway, crashed into the guardrail, went through the guardrail, and ended up in the water. In the water, is completely submerged under the water here. You can see the guardrail. This is right before South Tropical Trail heading eastbound on Pineda, and he just went straight through this guardrail here and ended up in the water. This is the wrecker that's eventually towing the vehicle out of the water here. But there's good news to this story. There was a lot of people saw this happen, but there was one person in particular who didn't just see it happen. He took action, and we were able to get a hold of him, and he agreed to do an interview with us. And his name is Don Cobb, and I'm bringing him on now. Don, thank you for being here with us this evening, and thank you, first of all, for doing what you did. It was just an incredible story and an incredible act of bravery, doing what you did. But kind of talk to us about what happened. You said you were coming from a cross-country meet?
Yeah, so I have two kids that compete in high school cross country, and we were up in Titusville today, and we were heading back from the meet to Vero Beach. So I was heading down 95 and something, I was trying to avoid traffic in Vero. We've had a lot of traffic now going east toward the ocean, and I thought, what highway can get me to A1A without a lot of red lights? And I thought, Pineda.
Pineda. All right, so you're going east down Pineda, and you're heading to the beach, and then what happens? You see this white Nissan Titan in front of you, and what happens from there?
So over in the right lane, we're all driving normal. Traffic's just moving regularly, and all of a sudden, this guy who's going pretty slow in the right lane, my wife goes, "Whoa, look, what's happening?" So you start to see him lose control of his vehicle, and it just unnaturally flies into the left lane, smacks off the wall, and then it kind of slams the car in a different direction toward the water, and he literally just launches off of the Pineda into what I thought at first was going to be a grassy knoll kind of area. So my wife said to me, "Hey, we need to stop and help this guy," because we were right behind him. And it was, all happening quickly. But so we pulled over right there, right before that spot you're looking at on that screen. And my wife and I, we looked at each other and our kids, and she said, "I'm going to call 911." And I said, "I'm going." And me and my son, we took off toward the water to make an assessment.
And you said you have 8 kids. Is that right?
I do.
Kids. And you have multiple of them are serving in our United States Armed Forces all over the world, right?
That's true.
I guess it runs in the family.
Yeah. I'm proud of them for that, for sure.
So you see the vehicle, and it's down into the water. And I'm gonna play a video that you sent us here, and kind of tell us what's going on right here.
Coming out of the middle. He's right there. He's right there. He's right. He's coming there.
Right there. We check the doors, right? We get in the water.
Is he coming out of the middle?
Yeah, there we go. So we check the doors at that point. We're trying to get in this vehicle, right? And the doors will not open. They're locked. And we're scurrying to pop this guy out to get this back window of his open. And I think it's unlocked. And we finally get this window open, and out he pops, right? Purple.
You mean the window like in the back?
The back with the little 18-inch window.
Yeah. Okay.
He pops out, and you hear my daughter yell, "There he is! There he is!" And so
He's right there. He's right. He's coming there.
There you go. Yeah. Right. So we're all coordinating from the side, And you can see a gentleman on the other side who attempted to jump in at first to help us, tried to swim out, and quickly thought, I'm in trouble. So he went back and he helped us there. And this young lady jumps in with me from the other side, and
Okay.
we a beeline. And this is where we come up on this truck. It's going down, and we just kind of like we start communicating right away and kick into action. Once we can't get those doors open, we go to the back because we think that's our best chance. There's a bed. Um, how do we break this window? My wife's up on the backside screaming for like tire irons or
Right.
something to get out to us. We leave them there on the side because we know we're going to have to get this guy to the side, and he's a big dude. So,
And this is the second video, and you can kind of see the truck has gone down.
yeah. And that's us. He's popped out, and we start CPR right there. Not in a traditional fashion, but you can see the young lady's kind of behind him, and I'm in front of him, and I'm kick punching his gut to get the salt water out of him because we're really trying to hold him above the water as the truck is going down. And he's a big guy, and he's stuck. He's stuck. The bottom half of his body is stuck inside the truck still. And so she is just working, trying to find his belt buckle and wiggle him. I'm trying to keep him above the water. He's going down into the water. We're pulling him back up. I got him kind of in a scissor wrap, and I'm just kind of thrusting into him, and we could start seeing the salt water coming out of his mouth, his nose, and we're screaming and we're whacking him and just saying, don't go, stay with us. And I just remember just looking at his purple lips thinking, we've got a chance, to just from my previous CPR training, like if we could just keep his head up above that water line before, until the emergency vehicles could come, we might be able to save him, because you could see when we were screaming at him, at one point he just kind of opens his eyes a little bit for us.
To break a window to get him out.
And we're fired up at this point.
Yeah.
We're like, wow. So, and the young lady there, we're working together, we're talking, and I say to her, she's like, what else could we do? I said, keep pulling and start praying.
So you're doing CPR in the water while this vehicle is starting to sink. I mean, obviously from the difference, what do you think the time difference is from this video?
He's right there. He's there.
Maybe 4 minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, so the truck is actively sinking down here into the Indian River Lagoon.
Yeah, he's fully submerged at this point.
He's totally submerged. The doors are locked, right? You can't open the doors. And the only access you have to him is that back window on the back windshield to the flatbed there.
Yeah, and it's narrow. He's got kind of a smaller truck, and
yeah,
when his head came popping out, I mean, he's a big guy,
How big do you think he was?
I mean, I'm probably over like 250, 280 maybe. Wow. I mean, he's like a muscular, large guy, and I just thought, let's just keep his head above water. There's probably a very little chance we could do anything else other than that, and just keep getting the compressions. I kept putting my hand in his mouth to make sure his airway was clear, kind of trying to give him the gag maneuver so he'd throw up the salt water. And it was working. And that young lady was just back with her chest back against him and really trying to get him out. And then finally, I don't know how we did it, but she went under that water, and she pulled him out of there. And we just kind of thrust together.
And you don't know who this young lady is, right? I
never met her. It looked like she's in her 20s. I mean, mature beyond her years, just to go jump in the water like that. So I don't know who she is. I know that we gave each other a big hug, and when we finally got this guy to the side, she talked him through the CPR and the AED, and it was, I mean, she's a real hero. She really was. Impressive.
Yeah, we definitely want to try to find out who she is and identify her. Just number one, to thank her for being such an asset to the community, to exhibit the same kind of bravery and courage that you did, Don, and at such a young age, to just jump in there, risking her own life for a complete stranger like that.
To break a window to get him out.
This is why, I talk a lot about our community, and how we kind of come through for each other in times of need. And what better example than this right here, this real world example? How many people do you think, there's a lot of people I can see on the side here. How many people do you think, pulled over to stop to kind of see if they could help or see what was going on?
I remember kind of when that was happening, looking up at the bridge, and there were so many people up there running their iPhone, Android video.
Yeah.
And I just remember there's so many people up there thinking, gosh, I could really use your help right now, right? So it looked like a large number. My wife says maybe 20, 25 stopped.
Yeah.
And I know there's lots of video out there because it was probably like 5 of us that were very active. There was this older couple that was up on my side, and you could just see she was praying, and she's really engaged in the situation. They were clearing debris from the streets so no one else would get in an accident.
Right.
And so it was just all hands on deck for us. And I can't imagine if that would have happened at night.
Oh,
and
man. Yeah. And what's really also sticks out to me with your story is that you talked about the other man that jumped in initially. And it was probably just his instinct to do so, not realizing the challenge before him fully. And you said that he wasn't the greatest swimmer, but it's a testament to his courage that he just tried, right? So and I think everybody's trying to do what they can do. Not everybody's able. I know you said you've coached cross country. You said, how many miles a week do you run?
Luckily about 50, because my cardio is great out there. And I just remember thinking, gosh, I'm glad I wasn't having to deal with a cardio issue,
Yeah. And it's just, how lucky for you to be there, of all people, to have
right.
the courage and the ability to do something. So you guys are there you're on top of the vehicle. You're
Planning to break a window and get him out.
And you get them out. How do you get them to the shore?
Okay, so all of a sudden the sheriff starts coming, and we're just kind of waiting on that sheriff. It seemed like to me a long time I'm waiting for a sheriff to get into the water.
Yeah.
And we're making a plea. Now he's disrobing. I don't want to diss the sheriff's office. They're doing a good job. He's making an assessment. He's got the road to pay attention to. He's got a lot of things going on. He sees we have the guy's head above the water. So he's, getting the bulletproof vest off, getting his gun off, and he's getting ready to come in. And, I just pleaded, hey, you gotta go faster. We need your help. He is stuck at that point. And then he takes the plunge and comes in. And then he comes out to us, and we said, hey, we got to get him in. He's alive still, because that young lady, when she was behind him, she's taking his pulse. So we're talking. I'm saying, does he have a pulse still? Because I'm trying not to, I don't want to kill him. I'm really thrusting hard into him to get that water out of him. And she's like, he's got a light pulse. And so we're talking. We tell the sheriff that. And the sheriff says, well, let me take your spot and you go back under the water and try to give this a big last pull here. So she did that. He grabbed the gentleman against his chest. She got under that water, really started wiggling him out of there, and he popped out. Wow. And then we started to back swim. So I swam underwater because he had so much water in him. He almost floated for us. So I swam under him. She swam on the side of his hips, and the sheriff was back swimming with the guy in his arms, right, to keep his head up above the water. But yet we're like coordinating to get him turned so he can vomit out the salt water. Sorry.
So it's a really big example of teamwork, right? So you got 3 heroes in the water. You got the sheriff. The sheriff deputies jumped in the water.
Yeah.
You got this young lady who's in the water. You got you swimming underneath them, all to try to save the stranger, right?
And my wife and team are assembling a group now to get this guy out of the water, because there's a big seawall here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's nothing for us in the water to stand on in that seawall, right? So It took maybe 8 people. And I'm not 100% sure it was 8, but it took a number of grown men, women, and kids to get him out of the water to start really coming down on the compressions and the AED.
Now, we're looking at this photo here of them pulling it out of the water. Which shore was it that you were able to get him to? Is it the
I
one?
feel like I was on the opposite shore right there.
Okay, so over in this area here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
that seawall, we're trying to get him up out of there.
yeah, and
And
that's
quick,
probably a
you
good
know?
that's probably a good 3 or 4 feet, from the water to that wall. So it's not just you're lifting this 250-pound man up into the air.
And you have barnacles, right, digging
Yeah,
into your feet there on the wall. I remember thinking, my feet will heal. He's going to die.
yeah.
So, that's the only damage really that's happened to me, which I don't care. But I'm just thankful he got out of that water, and I'm thankful that the sheriff got there and the fire department got there, and they were pros. So
And so you guys get him up on shore. They start the CPR. What did he look like? I remember you said he was purple. When you first got to him. How was he looking when it was time to get him ready for transport, Don?
so I saw him open his eyes.
Oh wow.
He was trying to say something to us. They didn't want him to talk.
Yeah.
They were able to get a wallet out of his back pocket, and they told us his name was Gerald. So they were
Gerald.
trying to make emergency contact with whoever the family was. And he was trying to talk a little bit, and they told him don't. They put oxygen on him. And we needed a large amount of people to get him up that wall, right? So it was more than the fire people and the sheriff that were getting
Right.
him up on that stretcher to that wall. But it looked like there was color returning to him, and his eyes were open. But he was in absolute shock.
Yeah.
Like, what in the heck is going on here? And that young lady just kept talking to him, like
Amazing.
it was her little baby. It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Don, again, I just can't express enough for you my personal gratitude, and I'm sure. Was it Gerald? I want to make sure I get his name right. Is it Gerald? His name?
Yeah. That's at least what they said after they pulled his wallet, and I saw like a passport too. So yeah.
Well,
He lost all of his equipment. It was a shame. It looked like he was like going maybe to work. He had power saws in the back. The lagoon had gas cans. You could see the gas can
right.
all in the water. So
Coming out of the middle. He's right there. He's there.
And what did it feel like for you as a father, for your children to witness this event?
Well, I mean, just talking about it on the way home, I think as a father, you have to demonstrate, as any kind of parent, right? You are the person you're asking your children to be, right? I don't want my children to be average. I've always told my kids, and so 3 out of my oldest 4 went right to the military. Really, just like make a difference. Don't be average. Jump in where other people don't jump in, right? And I practice that mantra, and I have to live it, right? So this was an opportunity where I just kind of looked back, and I know there's risk with trying to rescue somebody who's drowning. And so I thought, if it doesn't work out, this would be the way. I would want my children to know that he died caring about others, just being kind.
Well, Don, it's certainly it's just a blessing in more ways than one that you were there, that you've been an example for your 8 children who seem to embody the values that you've instilled in them, and that you demonstrate, in the realest way possible. So I want to thank you on behalf of myself and on behalf of my family and the community for being out there, and I also want to thank, the young lady who we haven't identified yet, but I'm sure we'll find out who she is so we can make sure that, we encourage her and recognize her, and also our law enforcement, the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, Palm Beach Police, everybody all of our law enforcement officers that do this each and every day. And I think sometimes we take that for granted because we don't necessarily see all of the things that they do, but they truly are heroes. And even more so when we have civilians, just normal guys like yourself, that put themselves on the line, for complete strangers because it's just the right thing to do. Anything else you want to add before we catch out of here?
I would just ask your audience to keep Gerald in prayer, because you can see that death didn't win today, right?
Right.
And that was the point. This guy was not going to die in front of my children today, and that's what this young lady and I kept saying. He's not dying today, and we're not dying, and there's a reason why we're both here. And we just kept saying that, and we would cry out to God and say, God, have mercy on him, let him live. And that's what I'd say to your audience. I witnessed a miracle. I don't know how the heck someone 280 pounds came popping out of that little 18-inch window. And I don't know that I can ever explain it, and I don't need to know the answer. I just know that I would never take Pineda, so I was supposed to be there today, and I'll just accept that. That's why I was supposed to be there. I wish Gerald the best. He's not supposed to die. Today was not his day, and I'm glad for that.
I'm sure he's glad for you. And so again, thank you, and just keep being who you are, Don. We appreciate you, and we're going to try to follow up, with Gerald and find out how he's doing and see what he needs, if there's anything we can do for him as well too. So,
yeah, and let me know. Let me know if Gerald. I'd love to meet Gerald someday and tell him he's a tough guy. Would he survive today? So
I'm sure we'll get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. When I saw Don pop up in the comments that he was the guy that jumped in there, I had to talk to him so we could all appreciate what he did and kind of get the details about what happened. So thank you guys all for joining us. We appreciate see all the amazing comments from you guys, and hopefully we keep being the community that we are, and keep having good news like this. So everybody stay safe this weekend and have a great night.